What makes it difficult is the role the media.
But the reality was I hadn't spoken to Mr. Cosby, and I felt that it would be kind of tactless.
The Cosby Show was once one of the most loved family shows on TV. Millions of people watched it every week and thought it was amazing. But today, most people can't watch it anymore because of the terrible things Bill Cosby did. What really happened behind the cameras? Was it just Bill Cosby's crimes, or were there other problems too? Let's find out what went wrong with this famous TV show. The Cosby Show started on TV in 1984. It was about a family called the Huxtables who lived in New York. The dad, Cliff Huxtable, was a doctor. The mom, Claire, was a lawyer. They had 5 kids who got into all kinds of funny situations. Bill Cosby, who created the show, also played the dad. This show was very different from other TV shows at that time. Most shows about black families showed them as poor or having lots of problems. But The Cosby Show showed a rich, smart, and happy black family. The parents had good jobs, the kids were smart, and they lived in a nice house. This was something people had never really seen on TV before. Bill Cosby got the idea for the show from his own life. He was a famous comedian who told jokes about being a dad and having a family. He wanted to make a TV show that would make people laugh, but also teach them good things. He worked with other people to create the show, and they decided to make it in New York City instead of Hollywood. At first, Bill Cosby wanted the parents to have regular jobs, like driving a taxi or being an electrician. But then he changed his mind and made them a doctor and a lawyer instead. This was important because it showed that black people could have really good jobs and be successful. The show was filmed in New York, and they used a real house for the outside shots. This made the show look more real and helped people believe that the Huxtable family actually lived there. So, candidly, this book doesn't do it justice by not saying, oh, the Huxtable family actually lived there. Finding the right actors for the family was very important. Bill Cosby was very careful about who he picked. He wanted people who could act well and who would fit perfectly into his idea of what the family should be like. Some famous people almost got parts on the show. Whitney Houston was almost chosen to play one of the daughters, but she was too busy with her singing career. Vanessa Williams was also considered, but she couldn't do it because she was Miss America at the time. The show had different actors playing the 5 kids. There was Sandra, who was the oldest and had already finished college. Then there was Denise, who was rebellious and liked to do things her own way. Theo was the only boy, and he sometimes had trouble in school. Vanessa was one of the younger girls, and Rudy was the youngest and cutest one. When the show first started, it became incredibly popular very quickly. People loved watching the Huxtable family because they were funny, smart, and caring. The show was the #1 TV show in America for 5 years in a row. This was a huge success that very few shows have ever achieved. The show wasn't just popular in America, people all over the world loved it too. In many countries, people had never seen a TV show with a black family as the main characters, so it was very special to them. The show won many awards and prizes because it was so good and so important. Bill Cosby became very famous because of the show. People loved his character, Dr. Cliff Huxtable, who was a funny dad who always wore colorful sweaters. Those sweaters became so popular that many people started buying similar ones. The show also helped people talk about important things like education, family, and what it meant to be successful. But behind all the success, there were problems that most people didn't know about. The biggest problem was with Bill Cosby himself. Starting in the 2000s, women began to say that Bill Cosby had done terrible things to them. They said he had hurt them and given them drugs without their permission. At first, not many people believed these women. But then more and more women came forward with similar stories. In 2014, a comedian named Hannibal Buress made jokes about Bill Cosby during his comedy show. He talked about the things women were saying about Cosby. This made many more women feel brave enough to tell their stories. Soon, over 60 women had said that Bill Cosby had done bad things to them. The police started investigating Bill Cosby, and in 2015, he was arrested and charged with serious crimes. He went to court 2 times. The first time, the jury couldn't decide if he was guilty or not, but the second time, in 2018, they decided he was guilty. Bill Cosby was sent to prison for 3 to 10 years. However, in 2021, a higher court said that Bill Cosby should be let out of prison because of some legal problems with his case. Even though he got out of prison, most people still believed he had done the terrible things the women said he did. Because of all these problems, TV networks stopped showing The Cosby Show. Shows that used to play old episodes every day suddenly stopped. Streaming services like Netflix and Hulu removed the show from their websites. Today, it's very hard to find The Cosby Show anywhere because most companies don't want to be connected to Bill Cosby anymore. But the problems with The Cosby Show weren't just about Bill Cosby. There were also problems between the actors on the show. One of the biggest problems was between Bill Cosby and Lisa Bonet, who played Denise. Lisa Bonet was different from the other actors. She didn't always do what Bill Cosby wanted her to do, and she liked to be creative in ways that made him uncomfortable. Lisa Bonet was often late to work, and she did things that Bill Cosby didn't like. She posed for pictures without clothes on for a magazine, which made Cosby very angry. She also acted in a movie called Angel Heart, where she had to do scenes without clothes on. This movie was so adult that it almost got an X rating, which is only for grown-ups. Because of these problems, Lisa Bonet was moved to a different show called A Different World. This show was about her character going to college, but many people think the real reason was that Bill Cosby didn't want her on The Cosby Show anymore. Later, when people started accusing Bill Cosby of crimes, Lisa Bonet said she had always felt something was wrong with him, even though she didn't know exactly what it was. Another actor who spoke out was Joseph Phillips, who played Denise's husband on the show. He said that everyone who worked on the show knew that Bill Cosby was cheating on his wife. He said it was something that everyone just accepted, even though it was wrong. This showed that there were many secrets and problems behind the scenes that viewers never knew about. The other actors on the show also had their own problems after the show ended. Jeffrey Owens, who played Sandra's husband, had to get a job at a grocery store called Trader Joe's because he wasn't making enough money from acting anymore. When The Cosby Show was taken off TV, he stopped getting money from reruns, so he needed another job to pay his bills. Someone took a picture of him working at the grocery store and put it on the internet. This made Jeffrey feel embarrassed, but many other actors supported him and said there was nothing wrong with having a regular job. They said that many actors have to work other jobs to make money, and there's no shame in that. Sabrina LaBeouf, who played the oldest daughter Sandra, was never really happy with her role on the show. She felt like the writers didn't give her character interesting things to do, and she wanted to show that she was a better actor than what people saw on TV. She sometimes refused to come to work when her character wasn't in the episode, which caused problems with the producers. Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Theo, had a difficult time after The Cosby Show ended. He got his own TV show called Malcolm and Eddie, but he hated it. So she had his brother fill his own body, and to fill his own body, he had 9 kids. He said it was full of racial stereotypes and bad jokes that he didn't want to be part of. He fought with the writers and producers all the time because they wanted him to do things that he thought were wrong and hurtful. Kesha Knight Pulliam, who played the youngest daughter, Rudy, had personal problems when she grew up. She got married to a football player named Ed Hartwell, but their marriage was terrible. When she got pregnant, he asked for a divorce and even demanded that she prove the baby was his. He was also living with another woman who was also pregnant with his baby. Kesha had to go to court to prove that he was the father and to get custody of their daughter. Even actors who were only on the show for a short time had problems. Nicole Leach, who played small characters on a few episodes, protested during Bill Cosby's trial by taking off her shirt and writing the names of the women who accused him on her body. She was arrested for this, but she said she wanted to make Bill Cosby uncomfortable and show support for the women who said he hurt them. Bill's crimes against children, in addition to being a general liar, he raped a baby and sexually assaulted dozens of women who said he hurt them. Lisa Bonet's life after the show was also complicated. When she was on the spin-off show A Different World, she got pregnant with her daughter Zoe Kravitz. The producers tried to write her pregnancy into the show, but Bill Cosby didn't want that, so she had to leave the show. Later, when Zoe grew up, she talked about how her parents, Lisa Bonet and rock star Lenny Kravitz, had a very relaxed attitude about drugs and taught her about them in an unusual way. Some of the actors from the show had romantic relationships with each other. Malcolm Jamal Warner dated Michelle Thomas, who played his girlfriend on the show. They broke up, but they stayed friends. When Michelle got very sick with cancer, Malcolm flew across the country to be with her before she died. She was only 30 years old when she passed away, and it was very sad for everyone who knew her. Raven Simone, who played Olivia on the show, became famous again later with her Disney Channel show That's So Raven. But she got into trouble when she said some things about race that made people angry. She said she didn't want to be called African American and just wanted to be called American. This upset many people because The Cosby Show had been so important for showing positive images of African American families. Stacey Dash, who had a small part on The Cosby Show, also had problems later in life. She got into trouble with the police when she was accused of hitting her husband during a fight. She said it was just a normal marriage argument. But it became a big news story. The Cosby Show was important because it changed how people thought about black families on TV. Before this show, most TV shows showed black families as poor or having lots of problems. The Cosby Show showed a successful, loving, and smart black family. This was revolutionary at the time and helped change people's attitudes. The show also talked about important things like education, family values, and working hard to achieve your dreams. Parents liked the show because it taught good lessons, and kids liked it because it was funny and the characters felt real. But today, it's hard to know how to think about The Cosby Show. On one hand, it was a groundbreaking show that did important things for representation on TV. On the other hand, it was created by and starred someone who did terrible things to many women. This makes people feel confused about whether the show was good or bad. Many people who study TV and culture still think The Cosby Show was important for showing positive images of black families. They say that the show itself was good, even though Bill Cosby turned out to be a bad person. But other people think that knowing what Bill Cosby did makes it impossible to enjoy the show anymore. The actors from the show have had mixed feelings about their time on it. Some of them are proud of the positive impact the show had, while others are upset that their work is now connected to Bill Cosby's crimes. It's a difficult situation because they did good work on an important show, but now many people can't separate the show from the terrible things its creator did. The Cosby Show's story shows us that sometimes things that seem perfect on the outside can have serious problems behind the scenes. It also shows us how the actions of one person can affect many other people's lives and careers. The actors, writers, and crew members who worked on the show had their reputations damaged because of what Bill Cosby did, even though they didn't do anything wrong themselves. Today, very few people watch The Cosby Show anymore. Most TV networks won't show it, and it's not available on popular streaming services. This is very different from other classic TV shows that people still watch and enjoy decades after they first aired. The show that was once one of the most popular in America has almost disappeared from public view. The story of The Cosby Show teaches us important lessons about fame, power, and responsibility. It shows us that we should be careful about putting famous people on pedestals and thinking they can do no wrong. It also shows us how important it is to believe people when they say they've been hurt, even if the person who hurt them is famous or powerful. The legacy of The Cosby Show will always be complicated. It was a show that broke barriers and changed television for the better, but it was also created by someone who used his power and fame to hurt many people. This contradiction makes it one of the most complex and difficult stories in TV history. The show that once brought families together and made people laugh has become a reminder of how appearances can be deceiving and how important it is to hold powerful people accountable for their actions.